Welcome to another episode of our channel. In this video, we'll discuss how China has become the main supplier of parts for the drones Russia uses to attack Ukrainian targets. In recent months, a series of intelligence reports and independent analyses have clearly revealed how Beijing became a crucial pillar in Moscow's effort to dominate the skies with drone swarms. In increasingly terrifying and devastating attacks against Ukrainian cities, and we'll see how this goes far beyond the simple supply of components and electronic parts. Starting with an alarming fact, released by the main Directorate of Intelligence of Ukraine, about 60 to 65% of the components found in downed Russian drones come directly from China. Items such as circuit boards, navigation modules, and communication devices are produced in Chinese territory and sent to Moscow, where they are assembled in gigantic factories and used against Ukrainian forces. But it's not just China that appears in this equation, with parts manufactured in the United States and even Switzerland also being identified, occupying the second and third places in the origin of the components. However, it is important to highlight the differences in how these parts reached Russia. In the case of American and European parts, these are dual-use components, civil and military, and which therefore are prohibited from being sold to Russia due to Western sanctions. And consequently, these parts reach Russian factories through front companies and allies of Russia like China itself. And indeed, according to Ukrainian intelligence, about 90% of the drone and missile parts from the United States and Europe arrived in Russia through Chinese companies, which acquired them on the market allegedly for the production of civilian equipment, but with the secret intention of sending them to Russian military drone and missile factories. And in the case of Chinese parts, the investigation showed that they are indeed produced specifically with the intention of arming Russian drones and missiles. What's also noteworthy is the recent technological leap, with satellite navigation antennas in Russian drones being updated with more modern components, aiming to better withstand electronic warfare and reduce vulnerability to interference. These Chinese components have also allowed Russians to innovate even in the way of transmitting information, with one of the most recent resources identified involving the use of 3G and 4G modems integrated into drone telemetry. And it doesn't stop there, with reports indicating tests of attack drones equipped with Chinese-made jet engines, and the development of more moisture-resistant warheads designed to maintain effectiveness even in adverse weather conditions. Now, if we turn our eyes to the geopolitical field, the situation worsens, with China completely halting the sale of Mavic commercial drones to Ukraine and its European allies, while continuing to supply Russia in large quantities, clearly favoring its Russian ally by providing equipment truly vital to Ukraine. And Chinese involvement is not limited to the supply of parts, with reports of Chinese technicians on assembly lines in Russian territory, working side by side with Russian and Iranian engineers, in large-scale engineering projects aimed at achieving technological leaps, not only for Russian drones but also for Chinese and Iranian drones. According to several sources, including NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, Russia could soon launch attacks with up to 2,000 Shad-type drones per day against Ukraine, up from the current 400 to 500. A gigantic increase in firepower that is only possible thanks to this partnership with China. When considering the work as a whole, from raw materials to the assembly of components into semi-finished parts, Ukrainian intelligence concluded that up to 90% of all work is done in China, with Russia having only the responsibility of assembling the pieces, bolting and painting. And this partnership extends further, with China providing strategic materials such as gunpowder, fiber optic cables, and even heavy industrial tools for more than 20 Russian military factories responsible for producing advanced weapons like Iskander ballistic missiles. Meanwhile, Ukraine struggles to keep up with this technological race, with many of its drones still relying on civilian donations and facing a high cost to incorporate technologies like fiber optics that ensure resistance to electronic warfare. An effort now further hampered by the aforementioned Chinese blockade on the supply of Mavic drones. All this confirms, once again, that this war has already surpassed the limits of a regional confrontation, with Russia using Iranian-designed and Chinese-made drones, as well as munitions and even North Korean soldiers, all paid for with money obtained through the sale of gas, oil, and fuel to countries like China, India, and Brazil. In other words, Ukraine has become a testing ground for the revisionist powers of the 21st century, with technologies developed and tested there, from drones to artificial intelligence and electronic defense, possibly being used in the future against the West. It's not just a war for territory, but a clash between models of power, sovereignty, and technological domination. If this partnership with China gives Russia the capability to launch 2,000 drones a day, and Ukraine cannot intercept them at the same scale, the country could plunge into an unprecedented strategic crisis, affecting not only civilians, but also military production lines, the logistics sector, and inevitably, the troops fighting on the front line. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and hit the notification bell to not miss any updates.